my name is Jenny. Welcome back to Blue and Red Meeple Board Games. The holiday season is fast approaching, and it's a time when we gather with family and friends. So I thought today I'd talk about board games that are good to play with groups. The first game I'm going to talk about is Secret Identity. The player count is 3 to 8 players. It's definitely better with more players. So the closer to 8, the more fun it's going to be. The object of the game is each player is going to be assigned a topic. It's usually a character or an actual person. Um, and then you'll have little clue cards and try to guess who has what. So everyone starts out with a scoring board in their player color. This one is purple. You'll see it's got the red X'd out boxes and then green check marked. So this basically means isn't and is when you're giving out clues. So everyone will have their card and they will be assigned a number on the board. So it goes from numbers 1 to 8. So like there's Luke Skywalker, we've got Robinson Crusoe, Homer Simpson, Zelda, George Lucas, Winnie the Pooh, Beyonce, and Frida Kahlo for this particular round. There are names on both sides of the cards, so that is going to allow you a lot of variety. And you can see it comes with a large number of cards to choose from. One thing, depending on who you're playing with, you may want to, and group consensus, but you are absolutely able to remove a card if someone doesn't know who that person is. If they don't know anything about it, it's going to be hard for them to give a clue. So once you've decided on the 8 that you're going to play with, everyone gets assigned a key. Looks like this with a number on it. So if you can see here, there's a number 6. So that person keeps that number secret, and they're going to look on the board and say, okay, number 6. So they know that Homer Simpson is what they are going to give clues for. Then each player is going to be dealt a hand of these 10 picto cards. You can see there's 2 pictures on each side. You're not really supposed to just talk about what they are. So, sometimes a person might not know for sure what a picture is. I guess you can decide amongst the group if you're allowed to say what a picture is, but sometimes that might kind of give away your clue. So this player is Homer Simpson. So what you're going to do, look through the cards, find something that you think could be related to Homer Simpson. Depending on what cards you get, sometimes you'll have one immediately that you know is perfect, and then otherwise it might be a little bit of a struggle. So I'm just going to look through and see, oh, you know what, this one, it's a labeled bottle. That could be a beer bottle. So I'm going to put that down. Homer Simpson likes beer. So this would be under the green, checked, and you just slide the card in there like that. You can do more than one card. You could have cards, not and is, but you have to keep in mind that these 10 cards are the only 10 cards that you get for each of the rounds. There are 4 rounds in the game. So you can use multiple, but use them wisely because you're going to, you might end up with a really difficult one where you're going to need a bunch of cards. So once you've chosen, people pass keys around in their color. So like here's red. And then once everyone has voted, so I'm going to use this completed one, you stick the keys in, and then you flip it over, and you can see how many people. So in this case, the green player was number 3. So you can see white, blue, purple, pink, and yellow all guessed correctly. They matched the number 3 on the main key. So you would take out red and black. So these are the players that are all going to score a point. And if you're familiar with Dixit, the scoring is kind of similar to that. So each player who guessed correctly is going to get a point, and they're going to move up on the board. And then this player is going to get this many points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each of these people get a point, and then the person who put out the clues that were so good that 5 people guessed it. So it's 5 for green. All right, so once everyone has done that and revealed what the scores are, Then you'll take out all of these cards and you'll replace them with 8 new ones. Then these keys get returned to the key holder. They'll shuffle them and then secretly pass them out so no one knows what anyone has. And then it begins again. You do that 4 rounds. And at the end, it's the player who has the highest score is the winner. One of the really fun things about this game, besides just trying to figure out what, sometimes what people's clues mean, and then trying to figure out what to put for your own, is when you reveal and people explain why they chose what they chose. Let's go over a couple of others. So like here we've got Luke Skywalker. You can see they're just really kind of random things. You got a barrel, a cat, a shovel, a toilet. You got signs, a star. It's like, oh, a star. That would have worked. You could use that for Beyonce. She's a star. Let's see what else we've got in here. Let's see anything on this side. And again, you got 2 sides to choose from. And oh, and here I see, a movie camera. So you could use that for George Lucas, a movie camera. There's also an alien. That would be a good one. You could use that also for George Lucas. Let's see, anything else? Oh, Robinson Crusoe. Use the palm tree. This is what I would use. I'd use the palm tree, and there's a meeple here. I have the Friday, the solo card game with Robinson Crusoe. So it's a game. He's on a deserted island, a palm tree. There you go. There's a clue. 2 clues for Robinson Crusoe. So it's a really fun game. It can be difficult if you don't have 8 players, because then there's going to be one of these that you're not getting clues for. And sometimes it's hard if you're not sure of what someone else's is. You might be trying to figure out their clue and then actually be looking at something that doesn't have a clue. So definitely, if you can play with 8 players, it's best. I've also played it at 7. It was still a lot of fun, but it was definitely a lot harder. So that is Secret Identity. So the next game we're going to talk about, it's a game, it's been around for a while, so you've probably heard of it. It is Wits and Wagers. Let me just get to that. So in Wits and Wagers, and there are a variety of editions. This is the party edition. There's also a family edition, and I'm sure more have come out. We've had this one for quite a while. So Wits and Wagers. This is a game based on trivia. And it does play, it has boards for up to 6 players, but I've actually, to make it so we can play with more people, I just had some of these dry erase boards, and so I just put stickers on them to make them a different color, and then I just created I just used some cheap old poker chips and added betting chips of those colors, so I can play it up to 8, and I have a bunch more of these, so there's no reason you couldn't add more player counts. And you could even just use, laminate a piece of paper and just write on that. It wouldn't have to be anything fancy. So we have boards for up to 6, but I can play it with 8, and you could definitely play it with more than that. So there isn't a board if you buy the original version. So you'll kind of be creating that as you put down your answers. So if you're familiar with The Price is Right, that's a game where you want to get closest to the bid without going over. And that's sort of what this game is like. It's a trivia game where you actually don't have to win by knowing the answer. It's by picking the answer that's closest to the correct answer without going over. If you think all of the answers are too high, you can bid on Elvis, and he always scores double. So if everyone has made a guess that's higher than what the actual answer is, and you happen to put it here, you're going to win. So once everyone has made their choice, they just put their corresponding cards down here. And then people will be bidding with poker chips. So there's 500 and 1,000. So everyone gets to two guesses. You can guess on the same card or on 2 separate ones. You don't have to choose your own answer either. If you think someone's answer is better than yours, you can stick with that one. So there are going to be answers, and it's always going to be a number answer. It might be a year, it could be distance, size. So like this one is in miles per hour. What was the top speed of the original Ford Model T? So everyone's going to think about it, write down their answer, keeping it secret, and then once everyone is ready, then you reveal, and then you put them out in order from smallest to the biggest. Then whoever read the answer will flip it over to the other side to read the answer. And then we'll see who was closest, and you'll be awarded chips for getting the closest. And the person who had the answer that people chose also scores. So sort of like the last game as well. The person who guessed correctly gets a point, and the person who had that answer that was closest also gets points. There are 2 questions on each card, so there are a lot of questions to go through. And I actually have some extra ones because I ordered this. It's a kind of a expansion. It's a bigger version. So this one has a big mat. You see here. Just kind of makes it a little more fun, kind of almost like you are at Vegas. So it's same thing. It's just it's a big board, and I got some more questions to go with that. But this is a fun game. I think especially because sometimes you might get stuck playing a game with someone who knows all of that trivia, and they always win. Like my husband used to always want to play Trivial Pursuit a long time ago. I hated that game. I hated that game a lot because I wasn't very good at it, and I never won. So this is a fun game where there's trivia, but you don't necessarily have to know the answer to win. That is Wits and Wagers. And I would say with like Secret Identity, that the age is, and there is 14 plus, and just because of having to give out the clues with those cards, it would be harder for a younger kid. This one it says 8 plus, and I'd say they definitely could because you're just putting in a guess. And the questions are, a lot of them are questions people they might have an idea of, but not necessarily know. So I'd say, definitely you could play with the whole family. Yeah. So that is Wits and Wagers. I'll quickly put that away. All right. So the next game we're going to talk about is Just One. You've probably heard of Just One. It's been around for a long time, and it continues to be a very popular game. This is another game you could play with fairly young kids. Let's see, it says 8 plus. Yeah. This one also says it's for 3 to 7 players. So it's got these nice little card holders. But again, I just took blank sheets of paper and laminated them so that we could play with more players. And this is one, you could play with a lot of people. It might be a little more challenging with more players because you don't want to duplicate what your answers are that you're writing down. But still, you could definitely play with more than 7 players. Like I said, you could definitely play up to 10 or so. You can see I have a lot of these cards. And I just happened to have, from a graduation party, these little easels. So I use those to replace these, but they're totally not necessary because you could just hold up your answers so the people who are guessing can see them. So what you're going to be doing with Just One, let me stick these back in here, is there are cards. You can see there are 5 things to choose from, 1 through 5. So the person whose turn it is to guess, they'll just choose a number. They can't see this card, but everyone else can see it. So if they said 3, and then they would just put it down here so they can't see it, but everyone else can see it. So here, number 3 is passion. Ooh. So all the other players on their little boards here will take a dry erase marker, which are very nice and come with this. And I threw in some extra ones for those extra players. So then you would just write down what you think a good one would be. You could put love. And then maybe the next person would put, I don't know, passion. They could put romance. Once everyone has thought of a word, the person who is making the guess closes their eyes. Everyone else is going to take their card or take their board so everyone can see them. If any 2 people have, 2 or more than 2 people have written down the same word, they get placed down the table and they are not used. So this is a game where you don't want to write down the most obvious answer, but you don't want it to be super obscure, because you want someone to guess it. This is a game you're working together, so people don't get their own scores. You're working together as a team to help this person guess the card. So once everyone has revealed, then they show it to this person. They get one chance to guess it right. We do usually sometimes house rule a little bit and kind of coax people to the right answer. But once they guess it, if they guess it correctly, we just put this down as a 1 point for the team. I don't even know how many rounds you play. I think it might be like 6 or so, 6 or 7. We usually play so each player gets to guess twice. It's one of those games you can play it as long or as short as you want. If you just want to do 4 rounds, usually we like to have everyone at least get a chance to guess, and usually people want to keep playing. So usually we do it. We choose enough cards so that everyone gets to guess twice. But again, you can play it as long as you want. We introduced this to our old neighbors, I think a couple of Christmases ago, and we ended up playing it for hours. They just wanted to keep playing it, playing it, playing it. And they ended up borrowing the game and they brought it to a family event the next day. So this is another one that, it's really mild words. There's nothing you have to worry about. You can definitely play it with kids. And obviously, if you're playing with kids and, just choose the words that you're going to be throwing out there wisely. But that's another really fun one. I'd say maybe a half hour, depending. And, if you keep playing it, it's going to take longer. But it's another really fun game, great for families, and friends will like it as well. That is just one. So the last game I'm going to talk about today is one that I grew up playing. I've been playing it since I was just little. So when I grew up, we called it Rummy Royal. The board my parents had, it was a paper board, and we used it so much because it would get folded up into a square. So it ended up being taped with masking tape. I mean, it was a well-loved game. All you need is a deck of cards and some poker chips. So once we started getting our own collection, we found this one, Tripoli. And there is a board in it that we can play Rummy Royal with. Now, I don't even know if Rummy Royal is, the actual name. In this game, there are 3 different games, and it's Tripoli, Hearts, Poker, and then Michigan Rummy. And I read through the rules for Michigan Rummy, and it is fairly close to Rummy Royal. And it even says in the rules with this that people have been playing these games for so long, they've come up with their own adaptations, changed them. So that could be what happened with our family. Or we could have just gotten a completely different game. But this is very close. So this one doesn't have a paper mat. So this one is going to last much longer. This is a felt map. And you can see there's a pot, a kitty, and then there's spaces for the 10, Jack, Queen, King, Ace of Hearts. And then there's one that's for the King and Queen. And then you can see if you get the 8, 9, and 10 in one suit, you'll collect what's in that area. That's one difference from Rummy Royal that I grew up with. It was 6, 7, 8. So it always kind of throws me when I have 6, 7, 8 and it's 8, 9, 10. It's not fair. I should get to collect. But anyway, you start with a regular deck of cards, take out the jokers. This game you can play with a pretty large number. I mean, we've played with probably 8. Just the only thing is if you're playing with that many people, you're going to deal up the cards. So everyone's going to have less cards in your hand, which means rounds are going to go faster. But that's okay because you always, play again. So what you do is you deal out however number of players there are. So if there are 5 players, you deal out a hand for each player plus an extra hand. It's called the dummy hand. So if there are 5 players, you're going to deal out 6 hands. The person who dealt, has the option of selecting the hand that they dealt for themselves or the dummy hand, but they can't look at them before they choose. So if they choose one and then they decide they aren't happy with what's in it, they can put it down and take the dummy hand. But once they've done that, they can't change back to the original hand. If they like the hand they originally were dealt, they have the option of selling that dummy hand, and so they can take bids. So people, usually will bid 1, 2, 3. Usually it doesn't get real high unless you're playing with children who don't know better, and they might bid 5 or 6 right off the bat. Start low. So once everyone has their hand ready, you'd organize it like you would a normal hand, high to low, low to high, whatever by suit. So the game starts with The first person to lay starts with the 2 of clubs. And then you're just going to go around, whoever has the 3, the 4, and you keep going around until no one can play anymore. Now you keep in mind there's that dummy hand, which means not all of the cards are out. So that run is going to stop at some point. So say it stopped at 6 of clubs, no one has the 7. So then the person who laid the 6 of clubs, then they get to start with their lowest red card. Now you have to play your lowest red card. If you had a 3 of hearts and a 3 of diamonds, you could start with either one, but you do have to start with your lowest red. And then it would go around 3 of diamonds, 4, 5, 6. And again, you go around until no one can play anymore. Then that person's going to start with their lowest black. So it's always going to alternate between red and black. And that's one thing I noticed in the rules here in Tripoli for the Michigan Rummy. Here, you just start with your lowest black. It doesn't have to be the 2 of clubs, and you didn't have to alternate suits. That's one thing I kind of like, having to alternate suits. And then how we played it, if it came to you and you laid the last black, no one else could play, and you had to lay a red and you didn't have a red, then you'd have to put a chip into the pot. So, and I didn't explain at the beginning, everyone puts a chip in all of the spaces except for the kitty. We've never used the kitty. That's for a different game. But I think you do use it for Michigan Rummy. So then as you're playing, like say you play the 10 of hearts, you get to claim all of the chips in this spot. And it's same for the jack, the queen, the king, and the ace. And it's really exciting because like the king and the queen, that's combined. You can see it there. So the king and the queen, that's combined. And then the 8, 9, 10, they tend to really build up. So it's really exciting when someone actually gets to take them. And it's even more exciting, not for those players, but for the other players, when the play stops at, say, the queen and no one has the king, and then that player goes out, so no one gets to collect for the ace. No one gets a chance to collect the king, queen, or some of those. It's especially fun when we stop at the jack and someone actually had the king and the queen, but someone goes out before they get a chance to lay it. But then the player who does go out, they get to take the pot. Everyone else, takes what they got here. And then you start again. Everyone puts chips all around. You deal up the cards. And basically, you just keep going until you want to stop. I know with us, usually someone will run out of chips and we're not ready to quit. So we'll give them a loan. Someone who has a lot will say, oh, here, so we can keep playing because we don't want to stop. But it's another one of those. This you could play with pretty young children. It's very easy, as long as they can count, and maybe have an adult that can kind of help them if they need help, making sure they're getting, and you don't move so fast, so that give them a chance to see if they have the card. But definitely something that younger kids can play. We played this, we played with us, nephews and nieces, my parents, grandparents, so all ages can play this. It's very fast, it's fun, and again, you can play it as short as long as you want. Thank you so much for joining me today. Those are just 4 of the games that I like playing with groups around the holidays. I am going to do another group, probably a couple more groups, just because there's so many good ones that you can play, and so many people get together at different occasions. We've got Thanksgiving, it's just endless holidays coming up. So I hope that you get some time during the holidays to spend with your family and friends. And if you have time to play some games, maybe one of these will be something that you think they would enjoy. Until next time, keep playing games. Talk to you later. Bye.